Howdy. Good morning. Ms. Korn is not here today, so this meeting is going to be somewhat shorter. Her information is on the PowerPoint, and she will do a follow-up with you guys of the information that you need to follow up on. There's nothing immediate on the PowerPoint. It's all about your PPR, getting cleared for your PPR, and some stuff for graduation, which there's a lot between now and then. So I feel like we're okay with skipping her part this morning, and then I'll let her get details to you with her expert knowledge and not my guessing of things. So any specific questions about certification, though, that are kind of general or maybe that are immediate that I can try to answer? The one thing, yes. Unless you do not pass. If you don't pass it, you'll have to go back through for remediation. But I will say, as far as certification, the May 4th date to pass your content exam certification is a dead drop date. You have to have attempted your test by May 4th with a passing score to be cleared to get your placement for fall clinical teaching. Okay? I know she was going to talk about that, but I know that for sure. So if you have not taken your content test, you have one chance between now and May 4th because there's a 45-day window between testing. Okay? So if you have not taken it, or if you've taken it and you're retaking it, you need to get on Certified Teacher or get on some other remediation websites, get a book, whatever you need to do to make sure you're best prepared for your last shot at passing the test to be good to go for fall. Okay? If you do not pass by May 4th, you'll just get pushed back and you'll have until October to pass your test, and you'll be a spring 2020 clinical teacher. Okay? Any questions on that? So for graduation, you will have to. So she'll talk about that. But just know, for graduation requirements, the testing piece is not a requirement for graduation. It is to be recommended for certification, so it's a step above graduation. Okay? All right. If y'all have questions for her, go back real quick. That's her contact information, her phone. Her email is the easiest way, quickest. She'll respond quick if you have questions for her. I would reach out. But just know, once she goes through her information and we upload it on the clinical teaching page, we'll send you an email and tell you that her information is there ready for you guys to review. Okay? All right. So I am going to talk to you today general information about what to expect in clinical teaching, and then know that you will have a sit-down, nuts and bolts orientation with your assigned supervisor before you start clinical teaching. For some of you, it may be the week before, it may be the day before, it may be the night before, but you will have a sit-down, go through the handbook, review everything, be clear on expectations before you start in the field for clinical teaching. Okay? Officially start. You may have gone to work days or something, but official start date with students in the classroom. Okay? So what I talk about is pretty general, and then you'll get details with your supervisor in a smaller setting when it's time for you to start doing things. Okay? All right. As far as being enrolled, I think registration opens next week or the week after. So what was shared with you at the first meeting, that's just kind of a reminder. If you're staying local, you're in section 500. If you're leaving what we would consider the local area, you're in section 550. And then depending on which certification or program you're in, that will dictate which course. And if you need the 12-hour section, anybody can sign up for the 12-hour section of T 425. Okay? As far as clearance, you guys all have been in and been cleared through advising, correct? Because that's a requirement also to get your placement information. You have to have mandatory advising this semester. Okay? Any questions on enrollment, advising? Yes? it doesn't matter. I'll know based on where you're placed and your information with us. But any questions about advising, getting cleared? Yes. I feel like Justin has said in the past maybe 2,500 to 3, I think, but don't mark me. But I'm pretty sure he said about 2,500 maybe for the 6 hours. Is that what he's told y'all? Okay. Sure. All right. Let's talk just general before you go out, things to think about, and then obviously throughout the semester. You get one chance at a first impression. So you're going to be meeting a new supervisor, you're going to be meeting a new cooperating teacher, you're going to be meeting principal, team. So you have one chance. When you reach out to your mentor teacher that you've been assigned to in an email, be really thoughtful of how you introduce yourself, just that one chance to make that good first impression. Be thoughtful of your initial communication with your supervisor, and obviously in the classroom. Remember that we're guests there. The school districts have opened up their classrooms. They've said we welcome Aggies, but at the end of the day, their priority is the students in the room. So you're there, but you're a guest. And if things go wrong or things aren't going how they want, you're a guest and you can be asked to leave. So just be thoughtful that while you're there, and this is a piece of a requirement for you to graduate, the district and the school is saying, we'll welcome you here, but we can survive without you. And our priority is our students and our teachers. So just be mindful that even though you're going to get really familiar and be really comfortable, you're still a guest there in their school. The 14 weeks, even if you do not intend on staying in that school or in that district, it is a job interview, because those people that are with you day in and day out are going to be the ones that are going to recommend you for whatever job you do go get. So while you are there, just be thinking, people are watching. You may need to get a recommendation from an assistant principal or a principal. Obviously, your assigned cooperating teacher will be writing recommendations for you wherever you apply, whether it's within that district or outside. So it's a really long job interview, but just if you kind of keep that perspective, it'll keep you on your toes, keep you focused, and just putting best foot forward. The other thing is you're representing A&M. You're going to be all over the state. I think 50 districts around the state will have Aggies just from our department. And so you're an ambassador. You're there because they've asked and been willing to host you, but you're setting the groundwork for future semesters for students to come behind you. So just be thoughtful of that as well. Dress, punctuality, all that senior methods, you guys have that down. Once we get placements from the district, we will send you an email with information. It'll probably be mid-May before we'll have that. Everybody's got to be cleared for their certification exams, and so that'll be May 4th, so that next week we'll have clearance for everybody, and then placements will be sent. Realize that some school districts will not have placements before summer. In fact, this past year, some districts did not have placements until the first week of August. So when we do a mass email and send out placements, you may have pending written in all your blanks, or you may have a school assigned, but everything else may say pending. As soon as we get that information from the district, we will push it out to you, because we want you to be able to communicate with your mentor over the summer. If there's an opportunity to, get in the school even before the end of the semester to get your bearings, we want to get that to you as soon as we have it. But just know, especially this group going into the fall, a lot of changes happen over the summer in schools. Even if they have everybody hired, sometimes they're shifting people within the school and they don't want to assign you. You've said on your application you really want to be in second grade, but the teacher that they want to put you with may get moved, and so they're going to hold off and not assign you until they know that they've kind of got teachers where they want them. And then also realize you may get a placement, and then you may get an email from us the week before school starts and be told you're changing placements because your teacher has switched to a grade level you're not certified in, or they've switched schools, but you really want to stay at the school, or there's just lots of changes over the summer. So as with teaching, your contract says, you're certified EC6 and they may hire you for first grade, but you may end up teaching fourth grade. So just know that your placement may change. So just be flexible with that and know that we will get you that. And when you do have that information, you're highly encouraged to go ahead and reach out to your cooperating teacher and make that initial contact, and know that your supervisor will be communicating with you as well about when your first orientation will be. Okay? As far as first impression, your last impression is just as important, because that's what they're going to walk away remembering. And then a month later, they're writing a rec for you. So just remember to finish really strong. If you haven't already, Google yourself, see what's out there. Your kids will, if they haven't already. They will see and do as much research on you as they can. So I would be really thoughtful on what's out there. I would be really thoughtful on what your cell phone machine answer, when somebody calls you and you don't answer, what that message says, because you're moving into a professional phase, and so it's really important to be thoughtful of how you're representing yourself. So your social media, all of those kind of things. Be very, very cautious about social media during clinical teaching. We've had students pulled from clinical teaching because of something they posted on social media, because the students in the classroom saw it, took a screenshot, sent it to the principal, conversation the next day with the student, and they were pulled from clinical teaching. So be very, very mindful of what you put out for the world to see, because people will be looking, okay? First day of clinical teaching. For the fall, the dates will vary. Your first day, your first official day, is the first day that students are in the classroom in your district. So some calendars, students are in the classroom as early as August 12th. Some, it's the next week, and potentially even the following week. So there may be a couple of week gap between start dates, totally dependent on your district. So calendars are already out, so you can go online, find your district calendar, see the first day that students are in the field, in the classroom, and that's your first day in the field. Should you go to days before that are prep days, work days, those kind of things? Absolutely. If that is made available to you and you have the opportunity to go to any opportunities that are out there before your first day, highly encouraged to go. For one, good first impression. For two, it gives you a real world picture of what it's going to be like when you start your experience. If you just show up the first day and everything's done and the classroom looks great and everything's in this pristine, you're going to go, oh yeah, we got this. But if you come the week before and you see the chaos of the teachers changed classrooms over the summer and they're having to get, arrangements and things up on the wall and just getting prepared, just the real world perspective of that is very helpful. So highly encouraged to attend any opportunities you're given prior to your first official day. Working during clinical teaching. If you have friends in clinical teaching now, they will tell you it is a full-time job. Unfortunately, you're not getting paid, but it is a full-time job. You will come home and you will be exhausted. And you'll have work to do potentially at home to get ready for the next day. So you are hopefully not going to have to work, but if you do, hopefully it'll just be on the weekends, a few hours. Just realize that it cannot interfere with your clinical teaching expectations. So you can't tell your teacher, I have to leave at 3:45 every day to go to a job. If your teacher needs you to stay, you need to stay after when there's meetings after school. All of those things are part of the experience. So hopefully you will not have to work during the week. Any questions on? No? Okay. All right. There will be a handbook that you will be responsible for reading through, becoming familiar with, and that will be your guide that you will visit with your supervisor and anybody else that's in that district. You'll have an orientation meeting together. Once that handbook is revised and ready for the fall, we'll send you an email and tell you that it's there for you to go in and download and read through over the summer. Okay? All right, so the handbook is just your online guide. You guys have a senior methods handbook. It's just your go-to. Expectations are laid out. Supplements, forms are there. It's just your kind of roadmap for the semester. When you meet with your supervisor, you will sign off on the 4th page of that and turn that into your supervisor to say that you understand the expectations in the handbook, that you have insurance. You have to have insurance just like you do for methods. If you're in clinical teaching, it's free. You do not have to pay for it, so you'll just need to sign back up for that for this next school year. And it says that you've turned in forms to us, that you are set and ready to go for the semester. So you're just acknowledging those things. So the handbook is just, like I said, a complete overview of the semester and what to expect. The objectives are lined out for you. The one that I think is important just to kind of talk about here is that reflection piece, that self-evaluation piece. You will be doing reflections in a journal throughout the semester. Great tool. If you don't do that now, it's something really neat, and you will see the things that you journal and think and worry and stress about early in your semester. By the end of the semester, if you refer back, you're like, I can't believe I used to worry about that. Or you're struggling with a student, and then all of a sudden you have a breakthrough, and you can go back and just see some history, and it just gives you an opportunity to kind of self-reflect, grow, and just see the strides that you've made. So it's a really good tool. And like we talked about, this is a collaboration. You're getting the benefit of learning and getting cleared. The school's getting the benefit of having an awesome, great, professional, extra set of hands, eyes, ears in the classroom to help. There's so much more that teachers can do when there's somebody else in the classroom, which I'm sure you've experienced in methods. Opportunities are there for you to provide enrichment and remediation, and so it's a great collaboration. Schools love having clinical teachers, and so just be mindful of that partnership and that collaborative piece. All right, the handbook will talk about just kind of like how you're going to get started, how you're going to observe, move into team teaching, what the teaching expectations are. It'll talk about lesson plan responsibilities, full responsibility. So out of your 14 weeks that you're there, 4 of those weeks you're in full responsibility. Okay? So what that means is you're responsible for planning out those days. You will be teaching most, if not all, of the time. If you're in a testing grade level and you have a teacher that is not willing to give up whole group instruction on math, that's okay. You will prepare everything, provide that to your teacher. They may teach the whole group, and then you may come behind and do whatever supplemental work there is to do, small group, things like that. But you will be responsible for planning out those 4 weeks. That will also require you, obviously, to modify. You have this great, week planned out, and then the middle of the second day, there's a fire drill, and then there's a lockdown, and things happen. And so that is part of that full responsibility, is taking your plans that you've created and had approved, and they look so pretty and they're awesome, and then adjusting because life happens. Okay? It may be as simple as something that you're teaching and you think it's all going to click and everybody's going to get it and they're going to be good to go and move on, and you realize teaching they didn't get it. So you're figuring out the next day how you're going to reteach, what that's going to look like. And then obviously that impacts the rest of your plans. So that is a big piece of full responsibility, is just the real world of plan A is great, but teachers have to be really flexible and be great with plan Bs and Cs and Ds. And so that's a big part of that. You will have a 3-way conference at the midpoint and at the end, where you sit down with your supervisor and your cooperating teacher and have a conversation about how things are going. So that is a piece of it. Your supervisor will come in and do 4 formal observations in addition to these conferences. The semester is 70 days in the classroom. So if you want to pull up the calendar for your school district, You count 70 days that you will be in the classroom, and that gives you a tentative end date. You need to add 1 day for career fair, because you're required to attend career fair here, and that's not obviously a day in the classroom. So 1 day will be added for career fair. If you are absent for any reason, you have to make that day up. So if you're sick, totally okay. There's a good chance you may get sick being with a whole new group of students. If you're sick, you'll put in an absence report and just know that however many days you miss, those days get added to the end of the semester. Okay? I'll talk a little bit more about attendance in a minute, but you'll also have seminars with your supervisor. So like I talked about, you'll have that orientation. You'll have at least 2 other, probably 3, maybe more, supervisor seminars where you meet after school to talk about potentially lesson plans or classroom management or getting ready for career fair, interviewing, things like that. So you are required to attend those seminars with your supervisor. Okay. All right. So I talked about attendance a little bit, but I'm going to go back over this to make sure that it's clear. If you are absent, you have to make up the day. Excused absences are the same rules, Student Rule 7, just like you have in senior methods. What counts as an excused absence? If your best friend is getting married and you need to miss on a Friday, that's okay. That's an unexcused absence. You'll make up 2 days for one. You'll just put it in the portal. That's okay. Okay? But just know we will go through and mark your absences as excused or unexcused. But regardless, the day has to be made up. TEA doesn't have they just require 70 days. So we've got to figure out how to get 70 days in. The policy is in line with senior methods. The same, if you miss a day of senior methods and it's unexcused, it's a letter grade reduction, right? So we don't give grades in clinical teaching. So if you miss 1 day, that's okay. If you miss 2 days unexcused, that's okay. But anything after that would be the equivalent of a D. And so you would have to repeat clinical teaching. So what that means is you can't take a cruise in the middle of your clinical teaching semester. You can't take a week off and go on vacation. Teachers can't do that. Maybe if they've been there forever, they can. But as a first-year teacher, you're not going to be able to take off a week and just... So we know life happens. We know there's things that you need to go do and take care of. Totally get that. Just know you have to make up that time. And I will tell you, please do not schedule a vacation the week before graduation. Don't plan a trip to Europe with your family the week before graduation. We've had more than one situation where somebody looked at the calendar and thought, oh, I've got those 2 weeks between finishing and graduation, and we're going to go on this great trip. And then the hurricane hit, and they missed a week of school, right? School wasn't happening. It wasn't their fault, but that week then had to get tacked on at the end. So their plans had to change. So I am highly encouraging and advising, do not schedule anything that is not flexible so that, and you don't know, you could get sick and you could miss a week with the flu. And so I just would not advise planning anything official that is not pretty fluid during that time between ideally finishing your 70 days and actually graduating. Yes. It depends. It may be Friday or Saturday, and we won't know that until probably like October. So, yes. You get 1 day as an excused absence for interviews during your semester. Yeah. Any other questions about attendance? Yes. In the past it has. I think there's TEA is a little muddy on that, so that will be clarified and be in the handbook. In the past, if it's a full staff development day and you're there all day with your mentor, it has counted, but I want to make sure that that's still the case for the fall, so I will clarify that and it'll be in the handbook. Yeah, good question. Any other questions about attendance? Okay. All right. Within the handbook, it's going to talk about assignments that you are responsible for in addition to obviously being there and in your clinical teaching role. You will sit down with your cooperating teacher the first week, maybe the second week, and line out your semester of full responsibility of how you're going to build up to full responsibility, what classes you're going to teach maybe week 2 and week 3 to build up to be in full responsibility week 5 and week 6. So that just kind of gives you a roadmap. It may change, but at least it kind of puts things on paper and everybody's on the same page to know what your semester is going to look like. So that's one piece in there. There's also a weekly schedule that you will fill out and submit to your supervisor. Obviously, you want them to come when you're teaching. So they need to know when you're teaching throughout the day. So you will, depending on your supervisor, how they will get that information from you, and they'll plan their week of observations based on when you're teaching. So you'll fill out a semester and then a weekly schedule with your mentor teacher to be shared with your supervisor. You'll have a notebook that will have your lesson plans. The handbook will be in there, calendars, your evaluations that are done. That's where you'll keep your journal. And so when your supervisor comes in, they should be able to go over to your handbook, to your notebook, and kind of flip through, look at lesson plans, things like that. So just be thoughtful of that's something that you will probably want to have ready, even if it's just the binder itself when you go to your orientation with your handbook in it, and just know that that will build throughout the semester as your resource for the expectations. All right, we will all be on eCampus, and there will be some discussions. It all will be based on what's going on in your school, or ask you some questions to talk to some people within the district. It will all be relevant to what's happening. You will make a post, and then you will do 2 replies to other people. So it's just a good way to kind of stay in community. Some of you will be the only student at a school as a clinical teacher. So there may be times that you feel like nobody else understands or knows what I'm going through. That's a great tool to just know that that is an expectation, and you'll get an email when that's up and going. That's also where you will upload your attendance log at the end of the semester. So eCampus will be your friend. You'll also do reflections just like you do in your early observations. Somebody will submit an evaluation of you or their 45-minute observation. It'll get sent to you. You'll get an email. You'll click on it. You'll go in, and there will be some prompts, and you'll do some reflection piece within that, within the portal, just like the one that you're in now. That's also where attendance is. That's okay. Yes. So typically, it's 2 weeks in the first half. So usually week 5, 6, or week 6, 7. And then you'll step back, reflect, maybe do some observations in other classrooms, and then build back up. And then usually week 11, 12, or 12, 13. But it's not set in stone. But that's typically a pattern. There may be a reason, depending on testing or just where you are and things. It may be that you have to skip a day because there's a field trip planned or something. So it's fluid, but there is kind of a roadmap laid out, kind of a pacing schedule in the handbook that kind of gives some guidance. Yeah. Okay. What was at the bottom of that? I'm sorry. Oh, at the end of the semester, you will do an evaluation of the cooperating teacher you were assigned to and your supervisor. So that is our way to know how things went. If you had a great teacher that you think, oh my gosh, she was wonderful, or he was great, I would love for somebody else to be able to learn from them, that's the kind of information we need to know, because we don't know that. We're not out seeing how things are going. Same thing with your supervisor. If there are things that are concerning that we need to know about, you need to let us know as well. Obviously, during the semester, if you have major concerns, your first line is your supervisor, because they're going to be there in town with you. If there is a problem with the supervisor, then obviously our office is who you would contact to visit with about anything that you have that's pressing, okay? But you do have an opportunity at the end of the semester to let us know how things went. All right, the cooperating teacher will be obviously the person you're with all day, every day for these 70 days. They will do a lot of informal feedback. They may watch for a week. They may just look at how you're doing closure and decide that that's kind of how they're going to give feedback for the week. That is not set in stone, but that's just something that's very informal, that's just ongoing. The supervisor, though, will come in and do those 45-minute required TEA, documented, submitted observations where you will teach a lesson and they will critique the lesson. What they're looking for, there is a hard copy of that evaluation observation instrument in the handbook, so you can look at that. It's based on T-tests. So the verbiage that's there, the scale that's there is in line with how you'll be evaluated as a first-year teacher. So that's a great tool, but I definitely would encourage you to get familiar with it so you know what things they're looking for and the feedback that they're going to give you. If there is a problem in clinical teaching, the handbook talks about what that looks like termination-wise, growth plan, expectations of that. Hopefully that's not an issue, but just know, like we've talked about, your guest. And if things don't go well, the school has the ability to say, you're not welcome to come back. Okay? Or if you're not showing progress and we've visited with you about it and things aren't getting better, then you may be pulled and asked to start the next semester, fresh, new, back here locally, to be successful the second time around. So just know that the procedure is in place for if there are concerns how growth plan turns into probation and that could turn into termination. All right, within the handbook at the back are the supplements, the forms I talked about. That's just a good guide for you. The schedules, the code of ethics is there, a sample of the growth plan, just a good reference. All right, career fair for you guys that you will attend as clinical teachers is on Monday, November 4th. Are you guys all planning on coming on April 8th? Okay, so the great thing about that is it will give you an idea of what to expect before you're there dressed with your resumes looking for jobs. So this day in the fall is not going to be as large because not as many schools are hiring, but it still will be. We had 100 entities here this past fall. So more and more districts are hiring midterm. So just make sure that's on your calendar and realize that that is a requirement. In addition to the career fair after that meeting, you will meet with me to talk about final steps for graduation, and Misty Korn will be there to talk about final steps to get recommended for certification. So there will be a formal follow-up meeting after career fair.
So the upcoming career fair, that is at the same time, same place, just April 8th?
Correct. Yep. The career fair that's coming up is Monday, April 8th, Expo Center, 9 to 11:30. Yes. For the fall, as clinical teachers, you will not have to go in and register that you're attending because we know that you're going to be there. So we will pre-register you. We'll just upload everything into our, yeah. Any questions on career fair? You should have registered already if you're going to attend as a senior methods. Yeah. Yes. It's not even considered an absence. It's just a required day. So you won't enter it in the portal. It won't count for or against you. It just won't count toward your 70 days. Yeah, good question. Yes. It'll be at the Expo Center. So like at 11:30, as soon as the event's over, we'll all meet. Yes, I'll be. We do career fair. So yeah, we'll be there. Okay, any questions on career fair expectation? Okay. Yes. 30, 40, 50, maybe an hour. I would budget an hour because we may not start right at 11:30, just depending on how things are. But you should be out and headed back to wherever you're going by 12:30. Yeah. Okay. All right. I talked about insurance. You guys should be familiar with this. You had to have it for methods, but the links will be there for you. You will have to sign up again because it's a new school year. So if you don't get prompted, if you're with ATPE and you're not prompted to sign back up, you'll need to go in and do that before your first day in the field. All right, as far as being cleared and getting your placement, the things that have to be done that we will be checking, obviously you had to come to the first meeting or you wouldn't be at this meeting. We're now all at this meeting, so you have to be advised. So we will go through with the advisors and make sure that you've been in for mandatory advising this semester. So if you have not done that, you need to get on that. If the district has asked for information from you, if you're going to Frisco, they've already emailed you asking for an application process to be completed. So different districts have different steps you have to complete, or criminal history background. Some of them may require you to get fingerprinted. So if you're not already fingerprinted, they may say, we're going to issue you a fast pass and you've got to go get fingerprinted before you're cleared. So you've got to do all of those things that you're being asked before we're going to provide your placement. They're not going to give us your placement probably until you've done that. Yes? You might. Did you Google and just look to see if you, so email Misty Korn, she'll know, because she talks about that. Because some people, yeah, you may already be cleared if you've worked in a school. Your fingerprints may already be there. Yes? Well, they'll either email you or we'll forward you something if we need something. So if you haven't gotten anything, then you're okay. The key is to check your email really regularly, because if you get an email and don't respond, then that's going to delay anything that might need to be submitted. Did you all get an email reminding you about this meeting? Okay, we didn't send one, so that's good. That's good, right? Yeah. So did you get an email, though, that said, you came to the first meeting and here's the information that's posted online now? Like the week after our last meeting, you should have gotten an email. Okay, we're going to send y'all all an email next week that says you came to this meeting. Okay? So y'all need to check with each other and make sure, did you get it? Yes, I got it. Did you get it? If you did not get it, you need to email us. Okay? Because we will send weekly emails during clinical teaching. Every single week you'll get an email from us, if not more than one. But every week you'll get a weekly update with just, here's what's coming up next, here's deadlines, here's expectations, here's reminders. Every week you'll get an email from us. Okay? You can expect an email from us the middle of May with whatever placement information we have. Okay? Don't email us before then, because we're not going to give individual placement information until everybody has been cleared through their exam. So until we have all of that information finalized and cleared, we're not going to send out placements. Okay? The district may contact you with placement information. Some districts send information directly to students. If you get an email from them, please forward that to us, because maybe they sent it to you and didn't send it to us. Okay? But we need to know that they've sent something to you. But you are not cleared until you get an email from us saying you're cleared and here's your placement information. Okay? clinical-teaching@tamu.edu. Is anybody willing to admit that they had not taken their exam by the first test, by the first meeting. Did you get an email from us saying, our records indicate that you have not passed your test? Yes. If you've passed your test, you would not have gotten an email. But if you had not passed your test, you were sent an email. I know 100% you were sent an email from us saying you had not passed your test. Okay. So if you're not getting any communication from us and you know you should be, then you need to email us. We are only using your A&M email. So if you don't check that, you need to. That's where you're going to get information about graduation. So that is a must do. If you have it forwarded to a Gmail or some other outside A&M official email, you may want to check and make sure that that's set up right to forward. Maybe stuff is not getting pushed out to you. Okay? All right. Our office phone number, contact information is here. So I want to say a couple of things. I've said this, but I'm going to say it again. You guys are our ambassadors. You're going out all over the state of Texas representing A&M. There is a good chance if you're going to a large district in the Houston area or Dallas-Fort Worth that you will be on a campus with a clinical teacher from another university. So don't think that that's not going to be observed, noticed, commented on. So you guys, our motto is always expect more of Aggie teachers. We have an award for that. If you're outstanding, your supervisor may nominate you for that. But the expectation is that this is what we expect, and you're going to do more than that. So just be really mindful that people are watching. In addition to your students that are watching, adults, professionals are watching. And if there's clinical teachers from other universities, you obviously want the principal at the end of the day to say, Aggies rocked. Aggies were outstanding. Aggies were the best. We want more Aggies. So just be mindful of that. The other thing I will say is there may be some of you guys that go, I've gotten this far, but teaching isn't what I want to do. Like, I'm going to go to grad school, or I'm going to go to law school, or that's great. But at the end of the day, you're still representing A&M, and we are still saying that you are ready for a classroom. Whether you choose to go into a classroom, totally on you. But your expectation, the standard, what we expect from you, what we require from you, what the state requires from you is the same. So don't go into it with the attitude of, this isn't what I want to do, so I'm just going to get by. That looks bad for you. That doesn't set a good precedent for future students that may want to go to that district. Don't tell your mentor teacher the first day, I've made it this far, this isn't what I want to do, but I have to do it. It happens. I've had more than one teacher say, I don't want this student in my room because they don't want to be here. I mean, if you've gotten this far and this isn't what you want to do, then you need to go talk to your advisor. Because 14 weeks is a long time. It is a full-time job, and you're going to be frustrated because you're going to go, I do all this work and I'm not getting paid. So that in of itself is hard. But if you don't go into it gung-ho, ready to go 100%, I can do this, then when you have bad days, it's going to be really tough. So just be really thoughtful about that. You're representing all your peers. Because just because you don't want to go to that school district, somebody else sitting in that room may want to. And if their association with A&M is not a great one, that could hinder the future. And even if you're not going into teaching, you still may need a recommendation from your mentor teacher or your supervisor or the campus principal because you want to go into speech path and you're going to go that route, and that's awesome and great. But the benefits of this semester, what you're going to learn and grow, and you just need to take that as a great learning experience, and that you're representing yourself and this university really well. So any questions about just kind of the overall experience, what to expect? No? Okay. To make sure that we know that you guys were here today, you're going to just sign in at the back table. It's just an alpha list, so just sign in. And we will send you an email next week saying that you guys were here. I promise. If you're a career fair hostess, please come up to the front. You can sign in.
I'm not a career fair host. So